We are all interested in knowing where the market is going, especially where the market is going the next day, right? But when we actually look at the picture clear enough, we do understand that the market does show you things which really is helpful for your day-to-day journey in crypto market. It has been tough time for sure. When you actually look at this range, you do understand that that was really a tough time to be in this asset class. It was really hard to understand what the price action is doing when we were in this choppy area. But what makes the difference is understanding the macro. One of the positive things which you can see is the dollar dropping, making lower highs. And then you see the stock markets are dropping. And as it's dropping, you look at where it's dropping from. And that clearly shows us that the level of resistance which the market is getting at this point, it is hard, it is strong. Sellers are entering at that point, or people are taking profits and moving out. So it is becoming a little bit of concern. Now, if you actually plot a trend line, this is what you're watching. If the price doesn't actually bounce off from this trend line, that means stock market is ready for some kind of pain. Sure. What does that mean for crypto? It's actually a big thing to watch for, because if the stock markets are dropping, even when the dollar is dropping this fast, that means there is some level of uncertainty which the market is anticipating. So we need to see what crypto market is showing with respect to that uncertainty. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, when you're looking at the charts, yes, whether it's the short-term chart or a long-term chart, you're looking for what the price action is showing you, right? And on a short-term chart like this, Bitcoin is actually making a lower low, agreed, and the RSI kind of suggests you like, have some positive news, right? It does show you there is a possibility. But then what's the issue here? That's the common question. And when you're actually taking the same chart on a little bit higher time horizon, say a daily chart, and then you start looking at what the price action is doing, especially with respect to the RSI, the divergence, the MACD, and all those. Now, this is a daily, right? This is a daily. So you need to actually think about when this happened last time, what was the reasoning for the market? What did the market do at that time? It's actually more important. Now, if you actually take this into consideration, you will see like, okay, at this point we had a candle close to the downside on the MACD, which means you got a price action showing we are slowing down. But it actually stayed in that range for some time, and then it dropped a little bit to test this previous range, creating a new level and bouncing off. That's positive, that's fine. However, when it actually went up, making a new high, as you see here, MACD was like, nah, I'm going down. I don't have that amount of strength. Now, if you actually take MACD out of the picture and look at the RSI, RSI was also showing you the same exact story. It showed you I have some divergence here, and then it continued deepening. And that's where you actually saw the Bitcoin price moving down 20-23%. Now, what do we have right now? That's the important question, right? Now, are we in the overbought territory? Not yet, for sure, not yet. Let's actually clear the picture here. This is what we are looking at. Great. The second time when we actually got the candle to the downside, the MACD actually showed you I'm crossing to the downside, but then what happened? The price actually went up. So it's the same story repeating again. But the MACD was saying, nah, buddy, I don't have the same amount of strength. I'm moving down. That's when we actually saw the market dropping another 11%. Now, is that a big drop? No. But what happened is that the market consolidated at that support level for some time, making the thought process, I'm going to go higher, and then broke to the downside, even create a little bit of fake out, and then went further down. So that total movement to the downside now became around a 18-19% drop. If you actually take in the wick to the upside, That's around a 20% drop to the downside. Now, you just saw the recent past and how Bitcoin as an asset reacted and what the indicators told us before that happened. So, one, if you actually take that into consideration and say, okay, that's what we are looking at, now we do have possibilities. One of which I think is that, okay, the MACD is crossing lower. Everyone is looking for a major downside. Great. But then the price action may actually go a little bit up, creating that level of trap, meaning literally a divergence, and then coming back down. That's a possibility. So the price can actually literally consolidate here, then go higher, maybe 32, 33, liquidate a lot of positions there, and then slowly come back down before it actually goes back higher. And that can be a major rally for sure. And this is just a short term movement in the market. 100% agreed. But now the concern here is how the altcoins are going to react in that particular scenario. And the next one, if you actually take in the RSI, right now, you're already getting the divergence, right? So you actually had this level of divergence last time too. Great. What happened after that? We understood the pattern. Even though the RSI was dropping, you had one drop before you went up. In this case, which is the next one, you didn't actually have a lot of divergence. You did get some for sure, but then you had another pump without a major correction to the downside. So which of these looks a lot in similar with what we are watching here? For me, I would say like, okay, this area looks a lot in similarity with this one, but then we didn't actually get the break to the downside. We were holding on to one particular level where right now it doesn't seem like we are doing that. But what's the positive is that during that movement, we actually had this range as a support. We respected that level of support. Right now, this previous resistance zone is actually acting as a support. So it's kind of interesting to watch, like, okay, if that's true, then the market may actually create a move which can push the price to the upside. Maybe at that time, if the RSI still continues to the downside, if the MACD still continues to the downside, look for a correction, which would be somewhere around 20%. Now, the primary question at that point becomes like, okay, we do have this trend line. If the price action is dropping, most likely it's going to come back down to this particular trend line and then bounce off. Great. So from which level should we actually drop to get a 20% move to the downside? If we plot that, we see somewhere close to $35,000. Now that's actually an interesting question to ask yourself. Like when the price action moves higher, Bitcoin hits 35,000, will that happen? Will we get a 20% correction? Now, we can't say no because we've actually seen great price action here. We literally saw Bitcoin increasing in 100% move, but we do get corrections, right? So even if we are actually watching this, there is nothing wrong in it. I mean, that's going to be a great possibility for those who missed out to buy in. Now, that's on a daily. Now we are trying to get in a lot of idea with a lot of noise in the market. Now if you actually step back on a weekly chart, this becomes even more interesting. Now stay with me on this. On a weekly chart, last time when you actually had these couple of drops, you didn't actually cross to the downside, right? You actually see that. We didn't actually cross to the downside. Right now you actually crossed to the downside first, but immediately you moved back up. That is actually positive on a weekly horizon, showing you bulls are still strong, they are still active, don't jump out, right? That's what I see there. And then on a monthly, it shows the MACD is just crossing to the upside, the volume is just turning to the upside. This is a bullish scenario, right? Now, we go back in history. We want to actually see when this happened last time, what the price action did. You can actually watch just before that, we had a major crash, which was the March 2020 for sure. But then you actually watch how the MACD moved up and the price action kind of slowed down just a bit. And then you actually saw the price continuing higher. So on the macro terms, there is no doubt this market is turning extremely bullish. The amount of buyer strength increasing here looks superb. So if you have some level of patience and time to stay in the market, to stay liquid without, demolishing your portfolio, now that means you are going to watch rewarding price action. And that's coming for soon. For sure, it's actually coming. It may not be that late from here because we are already watching how things are evolving. Now, that's all with respect to Bitcoin side of things. Now we actually go on. The question is like, okay, I don't care what Bitcoin is doing. Tell me something about XRP, right? We are actually looking at this. We have talked about this how long? Because we've been below this level for some time. We're trying to break that particular level. We are not able to do that. We are still below that. Now, we just broke this trend line to the downside. We really, really would like to see the price action going back up, saying, nah, buddy, that was just a fake out. That would be really great. And it will be positive. But till that time, we are watching some negative movements coming in. We are still watching that negative action taking place. Now we are going here, looking at the MACD, asking the question like, okay, what do we actually see? The MACD is actually trying to cross to the downside. So the first question becomes like, okay, last time when it crossed to the downside, what happened with the price? It was almost at the bottom. Did we wick lower? Yes, we did. But that was a short-term move, a week. You went down, you came back up. The weekly closed in positive terms. That was bullish. Great. Now, when you're moving up, each time when the MACD is about to cross to the downside, what happens? The price is consolidating there. It's not actually moving a lot lower. It gives you some opportunity in a retest scenario where the retest would be somewhere close to 0.41, 0.42, that level. It is going to be really healthy to get those levels because I believe there is going to be a lot of buyers for this particular asset around 0.4. Close to 0.4, 0.42, there's going to be a lot of buyers interest entering into this asset. Now you take Ether for that scenario. You're looking at the macro on a weekly, and this is what we are looking at, right? We're getting actually rejected at the level of resistance. We are slowing down, but still we are above the moving average. Each time we test the moving average, we are bouncing off. There was a time when we got rejected at the moving average, or we were afraid of that moving average. Each time you come there, it's like, nah, touch and run. I'm running back, right? And something just changed here. You broke above that. Now it's the opposite. You come down to the moving average, you touch and bounce off. So you did that here, bounced off around 1,400. You went almost up to 2,200. Then you came back down. You pierced at one point. It seems like it did. And then you bounce back immediately. So as long as we stay above this weekly 21-day moving average, it's macro bullish because you go back in history and you see once you get back above this and stay there a couple of times, holding on to that bouncing, holding on to that bouncing, holding on to that bouncing, it just creates more and more bullish sentiment in the market and then just takes off. Now, am I bullish on this asset? Yeah, technically speaking, for sure. Fundamentally, no. But it doesn't actually care what I think about this particular asset. But the market says, I'm going to buy that, right? That still exists. Now, that means a lot of these altcoins are going to pop off soon. And when you actually take these out, if you remember what we were talking about last 3-4 days, we did give you this thought process at this point at the top here, saying, maybe we're going to get a rejection. We did get that. We came a little bit lower. Now, positive scenario here is that we are holding on to this particular trend line, which is great. But what if that breaks? Now, yeah, we're going to come back down. We are going to make a double bottom scenario. So we want to actually see what the indicators are showing us. On a daily, they're showing I'm trying to get back into the positive zone. That's a great news. If we can get a bounce in the MACD, wow, that's massively bullish. Now we are looking at the RSI with respect to the price action. The RSI is showing you I'm trending higher, which is great. Now we need to get a little bit more clearer picture about the indicators on the macro chart. Weekly, it shows like I'm trying to cross back to the upside, Even though I crossed the downside, it was a short-term move, and here I'm moving back up. So on a weekly, it does seem like, okay, we are getting a double bottom here, where the price action is showing you that I'm moving higher, I'm trending higher. This actually shows you the trend line, and that trend line is valid. For those who don't trust the trend line, nah. But here is the truth. You actually got the divergence at this point when the price action bounced off, and I gave you guys my thought process. I think we are going to go up, and then we actually saw assets running higher. We actually saw Bitcoin going up to 31,000 from 15,000. This was one of the reasons we were getting the exact same thing there. Now it's continuing the same thing, which means the negative sentiment is not here. You do get short-term correction for sure. You do get the retest for sure. It's going to come back down, retest this particular zone, and then bounce off. So if you are literally watching for a big, huge move, maybe the market may disappoint you in the short-term narrative. But in a month or two, things are going to change. Just imagine this is going to bounce back up to this range and break that. That's going to create a lot of FOMO, because people think, okay, this is it. We are going higher, and it will be. But at that time, you need to understand that we need to break major trend lines. We are actually trying to break that as of now. So the scenario we just talked, if we get a bounce off, it is going to be really cool. So the retest and that idea, it remains. And as soon as we see this bounce off, you will see signals, you will see symptoms in the market. You will see random altcoins running up. You will see a lot of these assets trying to get more volume in and bounce off. That narrative will be playing out in the market for sure. And that's where a lot of these posts and update can really keep you on the edge. You can actually get all this updates on time for all of these assets in the crypto market if you are following this. So if you are interested in such, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate that a lot. I'll meet you in the next video. Bye for now.